This pseudocode that is shown is a class that represents a node for an if statement in a syntax tree. So on the left we have a possible syntax tree. We have an if statement node. We have the expression that will evaluate to a Boolean, and we have a statement that is to be the code that's the code to be executed if the expression evaluates to true. Okay, so let's go through some of the finer points of the pseudocode. So as I said, the class is a node in a syntax tree, or will be instantiated to be placed in a syntax tree. And it has two children, E and S. And those are shown here. And we have a constructor, right? If we pass in the expression and the statement and so on. Okay, so the important function here that we want to look at in detail is gen, which means to generate code. The syntax tree actually is going to extend up beyond the if, right? So the if is going to be part of this stuff, and it's gonna have a whole bunch of other stuff. And if we have the root, that root we're gonna call gen on root, or generate, and it's going to call gen on all of its children in some kind of in some kind of recursive way. Okay, and so we have the gen. This is going to get called for the if statement, and we're going to start by getting the R value of the expression, which means, so if we have, let me write it in black here, if we have if, we have the expression, and then we have the statement, the expression is going to have a value. It's going to evaluate to a value. And so what that does is it goes to that node and says, give me the return value, or the R value for that return value. And we're going to store that in N. Now we're going to call this function that you're going to see a lot in this class. It's called emit. And what that does is writes code. So emit is going to write if false. So this is 3-address code. If it's false, then we're going to get the R value of the expression, and so that is what we're evaluating to false, or we're evaluating this. So is it true or false? My goodness, I don't know what's going on. True or false. All right, so if it's false, then we're going to emit a go-to, and well, we're going to emit a go-to anyway, and then we're going to have the after code. So this, keep in mind that this is going to get called no matter what. We don't know if the expression is going to evaluate to false or true right now. We're still compile time. We won't know that till runtime. And so we're going to emit this code no matter what. Okay, then S is going to get generated, and that again, that recursive generate function, gen, and that's going to emit the code for the statement. And then we are going to emit a label for after. So let's see, where do we get after? It's a new label that we're making in the constructor. So what kind of 3-address code is this going to emit? So we call gen, we're going to emit if false, some kind of string evaluation, so something, and then so if that's false, we're going to go to, and then some label. So let's call it L1. And then we're going to have a bunch of code and this is the statement code. And then we're going to emit the L1 label. That's an L, not a U. L1. And this is the label to jump to if something was false.